got some time. Welcome everyone to the strategy group meeting. Can I sign off the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 10th of September to correct record? Great. Good.
Is that what you wanted, Steve?
I noticed a hesitation in their voices.
Apologies for absence. Have apologies from Councillor Wayne Howard, Councillor Wendy Randall, Councillor Colin Morgan.
And Councillor Abigail Campbell.
Abigail Campbell, thank you. Any other apologies? Thank you. Declarations to members' interest, keep the chairman now on the items in the agenda. Thank you. Two corporate issues. The first one is Councillor Learning and Development. I hand over to Councillor Locke.
Thank you, Chairman. I refer to page 3 of your papers this evening. Councillor Learning, you will find there the report from Councillor Learning on the activities during the year 2014-15, and likewise the how far we've got during the course of 2015-16. Chairman, I think the report is fairly straightforward. It lists everything that's been done, in both years. I'm sure members will have read their papers. There is nothing, I don't think, particularly conflicting it. Therefore, I would ask that members they agree with the recommendations. 1, that the progress on council development is noted. 2, that all councillors should attend the planned programmes on planning and finance, asterisk on the learning and development plan for page plan 15 and 16, as recommended by the member learning and development group. And 3, that the member learning and development plan for 2015-16 is endorsed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. I have to say, I was very impressed with the progress we made on member development overall. And I thought the welcome pack the new members was very helpful on that particular event the week after the elections. That's very helpful as well. But overall, it's been good progress made over the years. It's evolving very well. Are there any questions for any members? Councillor Paul?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak, not being a member of your committee. Page 3, Roman 2, Member Learning and Development Group. Is it possible to have the names of that group published so that we know who to approach, as and when?
Okay, I've got this, Tony.
Yes, that's possible. We can
It's helpful.
that circulated.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Chairman, can I just
Yes,
say one other
Councillor.
thing, if I may, Chairman?
Yeah.
Following on from your comments, I would like certainly the 2 financial training sessions that we've had both in July and in September have been immensely well attended. We've had sort of 20, 21 members here. I think everybody has appreciated the work that was put in by officers to actually produce them. I think it's also made the papers that we have gone through subsequently a lot easier for people to go through, especially new members. If I may just at this moment in time remind members that in November, thank you very much, we have the 3rd of them, which will be the welfare one, and I'm hopeful that everybody who's attended before will attend that one, but I will do the necessary work to actually promote it beforehand.
Thank you, Councillor. I know you did well on the first piece, so well done there, promoting it. And you're quite right, those sessions were apparently very successful. And finance, of course, is a very important aspect, particularly for new members to understand when first becoming councillor. It's not always straightforward, particularly when you come from the private sector to come to local government finances. It's quite a different ballgame. Councillor Paul.
Yeah, on page 11, Councillor Morgan has mentioned the 5th name down. Is that a misprint, or is it...
No, Councillor Morgan went on the leadership programme.
Sorry?
You mentioned that, Councillor Morgan on page 11.
I'm looking at the cost of the programme, Chairman. Is that a misprint? £1,000?
£195. Oh, sorry, £1,000. I think that's correct.
Yes, that is correct.
That is correct.
That's correct, yeah. Not misprint.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Can I just say on that page, funny enough, Councillor Paul, I was actually looking at that page when you mentioned it. I think that's quite helpful to have that outside training and what's going on there. I think it's helpful to have the record. On that paper, I have to agree the three recommendations.
Agreed.
Thank you. Second item is counter fraud strategy, and Councillor Long, you have to do this one as well, please.
I am indeed, Chairman. Thank you. As with other organisations, Daventry District Council is at risk of losses through fraud, bribery and corruption. The authority recognises that as well as causing financial loss, such activities are also detrimental to the provision of services and damaging to the reputation of and confidence in the Council. To safeguard itself, the Council is committed to making sure that the opportunity for fraud, bribery and corruption is reduced to the lowest possible risk within existing resources. Following a comprehensive review of its fraud policies in 2014 and the reassessment of specialist corporate fraud resources, an exercise has been undertaken to identify fraud and corruption risk for Daventry District Council. Further work is planned to enhance the results of this exercise by assessing the residual risk and identifying risk owners. It's a responsibility of the Corporate Governance Committee, in line with its terms of reference, to review the effectiveness of the Council's counter-fraud corruption arrangements. In June, the Corporate Governance Committee received the results from the review of the Council's counter-fraud arrangements. The review identified a number of proposed improvements which have been considered and incorporated into the proposed new strategy. The strategy, detailed in Appendix 1 to this report, outlined the Council's commitment and approach to tackling fraud, bribery and corruption. The approach for meeting the aims and objectives of the strategy focuses on three core elements: prevent, deter and detect. These elements are detailed on pages 8 to 14 of the counter-fraud strategy and require no further comment from me. The strategy applies to all those working for or interact with the Council, including employees, members, contractors, suppliers and service users. Fraud against the Council is not acceptable in any form, and the Council will seek full redress through criminal and or civil courts to counter any internal or external fraudulent activities perpetrated against it. To summarise, in order to create and promote a robust anti-fraud culture highlighting the Council's zero tolerance of fraud, bribery and corruption, it is essential for the Council to have a counter-fraud strategy setting out its approach to managing its risk and defining responsibilities for action. An organisation that is resilient to the threat of fraud and corruption will protect the Council's financial resources and help minimise the likelihood and extent of losses, thus maximising the opportunity to achieve positive outcomes for the community. I therefore ask Strategy Group members to agree the recommendation that the Counter-Fraud Strategy 2015-18, an associated work programme covering the period to the end of 2016-17 financial year, as outlined in Appendix 1, be adopted. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Councillor Long. Very important for public confidence and work with this on the Council. Are there any comments or questions? If not, you have to set the recommendation. Agreed. Next item, strategic planning issues. Malton Neighbourhood Development Plan, Councillor Chadwick.
Thank you, Chairman. Members will be largely familiar with the process and the purpose of the Neighbourhood Development Plan. Malton was one of the early parishes to have an area designated and has worked together with people on from the council and obviously the local population in drawing up a draft neighbourhood plan. They have carried out their appropriate consultation and they reached the point where it was agreed that they could submit their plan to the local authority, to us. It was then sent out for a further formal consultation period. Following that, the next step would normally be that it would be presented for examination. However, in the case of Malton, despite many efforts to liaising between the developers of the neighbourhood plan and the local authority staff, we believe that it still fails to satisfy all of the basic conditions. If you look on page 40 of your papers, there's a bulleted list there of 6 points. These are known as the basic conditions, and any neighbourhood plan to be acceptable must meet these conditions. And the point of contention here is that one of the policies contained within the neighbourhood development plan is in conflict with the policy regarding the designation of an area of land as green wedge to provide adequate protected area of separation between communities. Despite a number of attempts to reach a resolution that would satisfy the basic conditions and the developers of the neighbourhood plan, they failed thus far to achieve that, and so the formal position of this authority is that it cannot support this neighbourhood development plan because it doesn't satisfy the basic conditions. However, we don't get to make the final decision. That is made by an examiner at a formal examination. Neighbourhood plans are not tested for soundness, but are tested to ensure they meet these basic conditions. And if they are tested satisfactorily by an examiner, then they go for a referendum, and 50% of those represented in the referendum must be in favour, and then the plan can be made. Because of this continuing disparity between local plan strategic policy and the policies in the neighbourhood development plan, it is recommended that the plan can proceed, but it should be formally objected to by the council, and that the council should seek to a modification to remove the offending part of the policy H6 in the neighbourhood plan. So that's the position we're at. We don't wish to reject the plan. We've made our position clear as to where we believe it fails to conform with the basic conditions, but it can go forward for examination, and if it does, then the outcome of that examination is dependent on the examiner, who might decide to modify the plan and approve it, or to approve it as it is, or not approve it. You will note from page 39, the front page of this paper, that this is a resolved item, Chairman, not a recommendation. That is because of the timing of things. The deadline for the submission of our comment is tomorrow.
Just in time then.
So we're just in time if the strategy group agrees with this resolution. So the resolution is in two parts.
Yeah.
That subject to the first one says that subject to the second part of the resolution, progress made by Malton Parish Council in progressing the Malton Neighbourhood Development Plan be welcomed, and then the second part is that objections be raised to policies H6 and E2 of the submission version of the Malton Neighbourhood Development Plan, on the basis that these policies are not in conformity with policy EN10 of the Daventry District Local Plan, and as such the plan fails to be in general conformity with the strategic policies of the development plan, means it fails to meet the basic conditions for such a neighbourhood development plan, and those are the resolutions that I'm
Thank you, Mr. Councillor. I mean, obviously we're very supportive of neighbourhood plans, and even just getting engaged in the process. Clearly there's a bit of an issue here, but we're still generally supporting the plan, and at the end of the day the examiner will determine what goes forward when the law is going completed. Councillor Warren, do you want to come to talk?
No, I'm fine.
Everyone happy to set the two? Oh, sorry, my apologies. Councillor Paul.
If the council is minded to resolve this item, and that they are not taking note of the bullet points that my colleague mentioned on page 40, will this open the proverbial floodgates for more parishes not to acknowledge those bullet points and leave us in conflict with those parishes going forward?
My view would be the examiner will take the decision at the end of the day, and on this particular item.
Yeah, but I think we're not saying that we don't. We think these are not important. We're not saying this should go forward for examination without comment. We're saying that we must comment that we cannot support it because it fails to meet that particular basic condition.
Okay. And the examiner will take the final decision. Yeah. Okay. You have to set the 2 resolved items in that basis.
Agreed.
Neighbourhood area application Norton, Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Chairman. This, of course, is the first stage of a neighbourhood development plan where a community comes together and asks for the designation of a neighbourhood area. In this case, it's Norton Parish Council, and normally for a parish in this district, we found that the boundary of the neighbourhood area is coincident with the parish boundary. There is an exception in this case. As you can see, it helpfully tells you at the top of the page that the neighbourhood development area is shown in red, and it is on my copy.
Beautiful shades of black on the other.
Yeah. The two white spaces that you see, one to the left is a large one. That is part of the Daventry North Sustainable Urban Extension, and therefore cannot be part of a neighbourhood development plan because the area is already part of the development plan. The small white area next to the A5 road is a piece of land set aside for road improvement, partly to do with the Sustainable Urban Extension, and there is to be a corridor joining those two, which the exact line of which is yet to be determined, so that the purpose of including that corridor as an excluded area from the neighbourhood plan would be to protect it for the development of the road work, but if we do that, then the neighbourhood area divides into 2, which is rather annoying. So we haven't shown it to be that. We're just highlighting for your attention that there will be some road development through there. So we have a single area, which is not quite the whole of the parish, to be designated as a neighbourhood area, and for the avoidance of doubt, this neighbourhood area would not be designated as a business area. This is the first stage, Chairman, of the production of a neighbourhood development plan.
Very much, Councillor Chandler. Again, a resolved item.
Yes.
That's right. Thank you. Any comments or questions? Councillor Hill.
Just like to say that as it now part of my county council division, I've been involved in encouraging them to go ahead with this and totally support it, and I'll be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Any other comments? If not, sorry, Councillor Hill.
It's great to see all these coming through, and it's incidental my question to the report. Just out of interest, do we know how many neighbourhood areas have been designated?
22.
20.
Yeah, after you designate this.
That's right. Preparation by Councillor Chandler. Anticipating your question.
No.
Very much indeed, Councillor Gill. Thank you, Councillor Chandler, for the answer. Are you happy to accept the resolved item?
Agreed.
Fantastic.
It's just a faction service.
No urgent business. That concludes the meeting. Thank you for your attendance.